Are you ready for the next CIRF report? This one for 10/13 to 10/20, and I'm Chris McCleary. We have another amazing week coming up. This one is it's going to be a little bit tricky. Things should be showing up fairly easily. It's going to show up a lot of opportunities for us, and we're probably going to have a tendency to want to push forward and push these new things into existence. And in that pushing might be giving us obstacles, might be giving us some feedback in return. And so this particular CIRF report is going to be very crucial. Seeing the solution all the way at the end, we're going to go through the astrology, DreamBot, and cover all these in a triangulated fashion. So we're going to be looking for the main influence that's going to be affecting us all. And we're using astrology. Just so you know, tomorrow, October 13th, is that full moon that we talked about last week. So why am I going over it again? Well, because it's included in this particular triangulation. All the influence is it's the full moon happening October 13th is paramount because it's the main influence. Looking at the energies that are associated with that full moon, it's going to be covering the entire week. We have T squares starting this week and then ending the week as well. But the week itself is full of sextiles and trines, and so things should be showing up as opportunities. It should be a life of ease, easily showing up into our life without effort. We also have a grand water trine towards the end, and it appears to be all weekend long. We'll talk about all that. Now, what I'd like to cover is this triangulation effort. The astrology that I just mentioned was in the purple, and it has a lot of different alignments in it. So the main things, the main themes are that full moon and the T-square, but also those sextiles. Sextiles are growth opportunities. And so what do we have with the DreamBot? That's the green circle. It's very much wanting and growth and moving forward, but there's also obstacles in it. We're going to get into that later. That is a virtual overlap of the astrology. And then the I-Ching was 58. Hexagram 58 says sprouting. And it's not exactly everything that you would probably think of in sprouting. We'll cover that more in detail. But it is amazing how all these themes come together almost exactly. The congruency score is the highest I think we've ever seen. Ultimately, we're looking for opportunities to grow, but not in a forced manner. These things are just going to show up in your life. And, well, let's get started with the DreamBot. Let's start there. This is a collection of dreams. And there's probably quite a few ways that you could put these things together. I mean, there's a lot of green and growth and that sort of thing. But ultimately, the red arrows are about, I know it's a big meme here, but growth, alive, sprouting, seeking, wanting. In fact, towards the bottom, there's the word wanting and the word want. And that's very Aries. That's a very egotistical position. Not that Aries have to be egotistical, but they tend to be more ego-driven. And so, yeah, this has every bit to do with that Aries full moon. The flower here indicates sprouting. That's what's incredible to me, because it's just an identical overlap as the I-Ching reading that we'll talk about towards the end. But lead and truth and green sense throughout. These are pushing forward, and it's all about growth, especially the word green. And it's alive, as indicated by the animals in the run. Now, the other meme is obstacles and limitation. And so we have, on the one hand, growth and moving forward. On the other hand, we have obstacles and limitation. That sounds like Saturn. Oh, we'll get into that, I'm sure. All right, next, let's look at a new little chart that I have here. And I don't expect you to like get all the details here. I'm going to zoom in. This is basically our astrological overview of all the major aspects that we're going to see. And the reason why I bring this in mainly is because the red arrows, the red indications are kind of the harder aspects, the more difficult ones. Those are ending pretty much as we are going through this week. And this blue here is the semi-sextile, so it's an opportunity here as well, growth. And then the green arrows, of course, are sextiles and trines, and those are very positive. And then after the week is over, you're going to start to see more troubling aspects coming in. But this week is very easy. It's very green, just as the Dreambot indicated, as the collective is seeing all this green and life of ease. Now, it doesn't mean that we're completely out of any obstructive alignments. So like a square, there's actually a T-square that's going to be happening with the full moon on the 13th. So let's get more into detail on the astrology of things. And for this is a brand new chart. I don't have any static figures this time. We're going to be going live there, not technically live, but there's an animation that's going to be going forward through the week. And then I'm going to stop at certain points. And the first point that we have here is, and let me show you around here first before we get started, because it's a new chart. The date's up here, and you're going to see the time rolling and the date rolling. It's a daylight savings time. That's central daylight time. And then I've got smaller orbs, so it's a little bit cleaner on the inside of this. You've got a bigger area than we had last time with the alignments. We have the planets on the inside of the circle here, and then look at the color of the planets and the alignments. Those have to do with the elements. So we have green, Capricorn, and Taurus, and Virgo, all earth elements, and then the same thing with the yellow for air, blue for water, and red for fire. So this happens to be about 4:07 p.m. on the 13th. And we have the full moon. This is the moon at 2013 Aries, and the sun is at 20, well, it should be 1413. It's not the exact time. It's 1 minute later. And then you're going to see the moon exactly at 2014 in Aries. Now, since we have an opposition here, that's the full moon. And just, just real quick on the full Aries moon, it's going to be more egotistical, if you will. It's like, what do I want? What about me? It might be a little bit impulsive. And this might show up in the police reports. There was a place in Europe that actually studied full moons, and they employed more policemen on the full moons, plus or minus 1 day, and because the crime had gone up. And so particularly on an Aries kind of a full moon, this might be a more appropriate phenomenon. You might see some impulsive behavior happening around you. You might feel impulsively getting what you want, that kind of thing. And then with the opposition, that's this line right in the middle, forms a T-square, because you've got two squares here, and both of them pointing to Pluto in Capricorn. And Pluto is death, rebirth. It's the hidden power. It's very intense. And so if I have intensely wanting things, and maybe intensely wanting to end old cycles or bad cycles, or intensely wanting to start new cycles, we're going to be in that T-square. And a T-square means that you're going to feel conflicted. You're going to feel like obstacles are created. And it feels like the universe has a vendetta against you if you're in this T-square. It doesn't feel very pleasant. But as you can see, there are lots of positive aspects, opportunities here with Neptune, sextile Uranus. Saturn, and Saturn sextile Mercury. So thoughts and communication around ideals and assertive thoughts, assertive communication, assertiveness being Saturn. Saturn, yeah, it's kind of cold and hard and brutal and throws up a lot of obstacles and stuff like that. But these are not unhealthy. These are very positive aspects with sextile, and it's giving us a lot of opportunities is the point here. Neptune, there's going to be an easy ability to think about a new life, a new way, imagining, it's fantasizing, but in a really great way with the Mercury, with thoughts and being able to communicate such. And so that's all very positive and a healthy way to go through here. But it's not a lot of pushing. Things have to come easy. Here's something else. The moon has a trine over to Jupiter. Jupiter being very optimistic. And so the mood should be optimistic and not a lot of wanting. Because if you're wanting too much, particularly in the line of power control, that's Pluto, power control, destroying an old cycle or birthing a new cycle, all those ideas are related with Pluto and therefore going to produce a lot of conflict, a lot of obstacles for you. Obstacles being this square aspect, the T-square. You don't want to be involved in that T-square. All right, so it's we're going to get to the solution over the context of the whole week, and it has everything to do with not just this full moon and the T-square, but also all the other alignments that we're going to talk about. So I'm going to hold off on the action item. And then we're going to zoom to 10:14, around 2 a.m. You're going to start to see the circle moving. And I'm going to speed it up to about 2 a.m. on the 14th. And what we're going to be looking for is Mercury sextile Saturn. I passed it, but you can still see it here. This is where it's going to go exact. This is 3 a.m. I went past it, but still there. So you've got Mercury going exact sextile with Saturn. We already talked about it a little bit earlier, but with that exact conjunction at 2 a.m., most of us will be asleep, but dreams probably surrounding thinking about, communicating about maybe some boundaries. Maybe boundaries have been lackadaisical now, and now your thoughts and communications surrounding good solid structure and firmness and solidifying a good foundation, particularly in your relationships. Be aware that those dreams might be coming in. But overall, nothing really changes here. We just have more and more sextiles coming. And in fact, when we fast forward to the 15th, which I'll start doing here, I'll start moving it forward. So there's not really a lot more on the 14th. So that's Monday. We're going to be on Tuesday, the 15th. That's where we're headed to. We're going to have 3 trines and 6 sextiles. So we're going to have a lot of ease. Easy energy is that trine, and the sextiles are all growth opportunities in general. And I'm going to zoom all the way to 4 p.m. and you can already starting to see a lot of the sextiles populating and getting exact. And then also the extra trines are popping up. So like I did last time, I went past it. So let's zoom back real quick just to get a little closer to it. There we go. There's about 4. We'll pause it. And so you can see these trines, 1, 2, 3 trines. That's easy energy. Some of that to those with the moon, Pluto and Saturn, trines to those. But you also have the trine that we mentioned before, Neptune and Mercury. These are all in play with a nice little tight orb. So they're pretty tight energy there. But look about the 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sextiles, and sextiles demonstrate opportunities. So opportunities is really starting to get profound here on the 16th. I'm sorry, the 15th, and on the 16th, you're going to see any of the oppositions and squares are generally going to be largely gone, and it's just going to be one big day of opportunity. So looking forward to the 16th, start seeing some of these other aspects going away. You see the moon creating an in conjunct. Those are irritations. So you might be irritated in your dreams on the 16th. And then I'm going to stop around 4 o'clock, and we're going to see pretty much almost nothing except for the sextiles. You see this is a waning square right here with the Sun and Pluto. That's been in there for quite a few days now. But all we have left is, in addition, another sextile. So there's just even more. This is the 15th and the 16th, almost completely just a day of ease and opportunity. And so be on the lookout for opportunities, but don't be pushing out things. These things show up in your life. These aren't things that you're birthing on your own accord. They just show up. They're easy. In general, when in a alignments like this, when you're pushing out and forcing the world to behave a certain way, you're actually going to create problems. You're going to create unnecessary obstacles in this way. So let's continue on, and I'm looking for on the 17th about 5 p.m. So I'll zoom here quickly. Yeah, and of course went too far. All right, so once we get to there, we're starting to see a couple squares being generated. And I'll just stop here. This is 6 p.m. on the 17th, but close enough. You see the moon is in a square over to Neptune. So fantasy, emotional investment in some sort of new life or escapism is going to be conflicted. And then you've got Mars with a square to Saturn. And so this is, again, this one reverberates this: don't do anything, because when you do something and you force things, that's Mars. Mars likes to force things done. It's going to create more obstacles. Saturn has all these sextiles to it. So there's still a lot of opportunities for, I don't know, solidifying a foundation. If Saturn is the foundation, and there's a lot of avenues into creating that good foundation, but it's not pushing it forward, because you're going to create obstacles, especially on October 17th. Now let's go into the 18th, and it's going to be around 8 a.m. And we're going to start seeing the moon aspects are going to get a little bit wonky. It's going to get irritated. And so when we're waking up on the 18th, I believe that's Friday, I'm still looking for 8 a.m. And my little tab that controls the time on here can get a little bit delayed, and that's why I keep passing these things. So that's 6 a.m. You can start seeing all the aspects I was talking about anyway. And so in the morning of the 18th, I'm going to check the date real quick. So this is Friday, the 18th. You have Moon in Gemini, and then you've got these inconjuncts, and those can be agitation or irritation, or some, maybe not that much. It's just going to be some sort of adjustment that needs to be made. And so you've got the moon opposed Jupiter that's kind of being distant from my optimism, or I might be overly optimistic. It's hard to be accurately optimistic when that moon is opposite Jupiter. And then you've got these adjustments that need to be made with your hidden power, or your ending a cycle or beginning a cycle. And then moon in conjunct Mercury. So, and then the square over here, that's buttoning up here with Neptune, moon square Neptune. So there's a lot of emotional adjustments that need to be made, and it's hard to be optimistic on Friday. So this one, again, is not a lot of doing. You've got now Mars with a hard square over to Saturn, and it's gotten more exact. So anyway, there's a lot here to get irritated with on Friday, and so we're going to be needing the solution for that one big time. Let's go ahead and look for a grand water trine at 10 p.m. on Saturday, and that's going to be the 19th in the evening. All right, right in there. And now we're missing a leg on this grand water trine, but what I'm looking at is Neptune, Mercury, and the North Node. The reason why this is not completed because I've selected that I don't want any alignments to the North Node, but it's still there, and it's right on the ascendant, but the ascendant changes for each one of these locations, so that's not a really fair thing to say. This is where I am. The North Node's going to be right on the ascendant, and it's going to complete this grand water trine. So we've got Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio, all with points on here. And so what does that mean? We also have, look at this, a T-square with Mars. So Mars already had the Saturn square. Now Mars has the Moon square with Moon opposing Saturn. So not real pleasant. Okay, so that's speaks more to, since you have the emotional grand water trine, you need to feel. You need to not be doing things. Again, this is the third day in a row where we have this. Now this T-square is going to go away as we head into Sunday, but that's really tricky, and that's going to catch you some problems. That's why the I-Ching was showing you. Well, we haven't talked about that yet, so never mind. That's why the DreamBot said that we want certain things, we want growth, but there's obstacles there. These are the obstacles: the T-square at the beginning of the week and the T-square at the end of the week. Now, finally, let's go into Sunday. It's basically we get rid of the T-square and we're left with a grand water trine. And so the grand water trine is basically both days, the whole weekend. It's a weekend of feeling. Okay. Now that we've covered that, let's cover the I-Ching reading. We'll get rid of the highlight. We cast the coins, and the coins indicated hexagram 58. It's sprouting. And this shows difficulty at the beginning. I mean, most of us want to think about sprouting as we're getting new ideas and sprouting new projects and all that. That's not really what the hexagram is about. It's about that the opposition, the getting things started creates difficulties. And that really speaks to the themes of the T-square that's commensurate with that full moon. Let's read a little bit of this. There's no way seen, no way forward, no way backwards. It is necessary to wait. Keep energy to overcome chaos. It is not time to show firmness and persistence. New ideas are appearing, but they have no shape. Rashness and haste are dangerous. That's that impulsiveness we talked about. And remember, the impulsive Aries full moon is going to want to go out and feed my ego. That's kind of the influence there. will is not necessary for only moving forward, but also to restrain oneself sometimes. At the moment, no undertakings are good, as all efforts will be useless. I know that sounds harsh, but remember, this is just the influence. The influence is having us not doing things, but just waiting for things to sprout. And the alignments in the astrology, remember, were ease and optimistic and opportunities. And the opportunities will just show up at your doorstep. Now, don't forget about line 5. Line 5 is the change line. An individual is in position in which he cannot so express his good intentions that they will actually take shape and be understood. So we're having problems communicating what we can expect, whatever is sprouting. It's hard to communicate that. Other people interpose and distort everything he does. He should then be cautious and proceed step by step. He must not try to force the consummation of a great undertaking. Let me read that one more time. He must not try to force the consummation of a great undertaking, because success is possible only when general confidence already prevails. It is only through faithful and conscientious work, unobstructively carried on, that the situation gradually clears up and hindrance disappears. In general, when you push forward, this is all of the triangulated influences all say the same thing. There's opportunities that abound. There's new things that are sprouting. But if you push them, you can't make a sprout go faster. You just have to sit there and wait. You water it and you wait. And so that's what the influence is. Now, when you make that change line, it turns into hexagram 54. And that is the marrying maiden. We've covered this before. It's kind of a sacrifice of your ego in general. The marrying maiden, undertakings bringing misfortune, nothing that would further. This is the same kind of theme. Don't be carrying out your own egotistical wants and desires. This prediction from the I-Ching, or from the Book of Changes, says, "This is not the happiest period of your life. Circumstances dictate the terms. There is no freedom of action, no joy and satisfaction." Remember all those easy aspects in the astrology? They're risky if you're trying to push your will through. And the marrying maiden indicates that you have to basically sacrifice your ego and maybe even push forth the wills of other people. All right, this is important. How about this statement? Perhaps the turning point of the situation comes to a full moon. That's what the Book of Changes says. And it's crazy because we're in a full moon on the 13th. And so that is the turning point. And after that turning point, the T-square goes away, so the conflicts go away until the following weekend. And it's a life of just waiting to see what sprouts, and all these opportunities come up. All right, the image. Thunder stirs the water of the lake, which follows it in shimmering waves. This symbolizes the girl who follows the man of her choice. But every relationship between individuals bears within it the danger that wrong turns may be taken, leading to endless misunderstandings and disagreements. Therefore, it is necessary constantly to remain mindful of the end. So, this is kind of interesting. So this has everything to do with the Pluto aspect. We're waiting to see what sprouts. And we're also mindful of our higher values, of the goal, of the vision that we have of the future. But we're not really pushing forth anything in between that. This is the time to be watching what manifests. All right, now I've got a nice little summary slide here to end our, to end our little thing here. And it's right here. All right, so here's our summary slide for I got the wrong week in there. Just forgive me, that's October 13th through October 20th. And the influence is new things sprouting, growth, opportunity. By the Aries full moon, what about me wanting, desiring, that ego, kind of that impatience? That's going to be probably the hardest part for all of us as we feel that energy wanting things. But here's the solution. Sacrifice ego desire. This is the marrying maiden, hexagram 54 of the I-Ching. You may have to succumb to other people's wills, or that sensation that, you're, okay, fine, I'm not carrying out my own will. It's a life of service, or at least this week. Pushing forth new projects may be met with resistance. So you're going to create obstacles if you're going against what the universe is. Now, if, let's say, projects already started, or you've got some new projects that are coming in, if those things aren't easy, and I notice I didn't say even if they have a lot of work involved with them, that's still a go. As long as the resources are coming easy, the time is coming easy, maybe the money that is needed for that, if that's coming easy, then you're clear to go. You're cleared to push forth. You could be in the life of your service, of your life purpose. That's not your ego. Okay, so ego's got to go away. That doesn't mean that your life purpose goes away. If your life purpose is flowing easy, you're still moving forward. You're still pushing forward. It's those creating new ideals and new things that don't have to do with your life purpose. That's where you're going to create a lot of problems. It's always, in all cases, those who know that they're on their life purpose and things are moving along, and those who are still in doubt and still maybe in ego land or maybe having a problem differentiating between wants and needs ego-wise. It's better just to sit back and watch what the universe provides for you. But you can't just be sitting there waiting for the world to do everything. You have to be prepared to do things too. I know that counteracts what I just said. It contradicts it. But the pushing forth, it's like pushing a swing that's already moving, and you're pushing at the right times. You're not, like, if it's moving back, you're going to wait for the energy to start moving forward before you push. And so that's what we're doing in the CIRF every week. So we're going with the energy, kind of energetic jujitsu, if you will. And that's what you're doing with your life purpose, or the opportunities that present. If they present and it's ease, it just shows up out of nowhere, then grab that opportunity. Everything you need to do. If you have to put forth hard work, as long as it's for this easy thing that's manifesting, then it should be great. It should be perfect. But if you're going against the universe and it's like obstacle after obstacle and you're pushing through it, you're probably going to be creating new obstacles. All right. I really hope that makes a lot of sense. If you have any questions, down below. Also, feedback is warranted. I'm just going to keep massaging with this new software that we have, and hopefully just keep getting it better and better and refined. But the basics are still the same. We've got the triangulation happening between all these different energetic readings, and we have a very high congruency score for this week. So in a nutshell, can't wait to see what everybody's opportunities are this week and see if we can ride that fine line between pushing it forth in the easy way and the way that the universe intends us to push that forth, or if we're like shoving it forward even when the universe doesn't really want us pursuing that project. All right, and if that latter is the case, then I would stop and reapportion your labor, your efforts, your willpower. All right, take care, everybody. Thank you. Have a great week.